Desire in the City of Dreams, a story. It was a warm Sunday evening in Chennai, a bustling capital of Tamil Nadu. The sun had set hours ago, but the city was still alive and pulsating with energy. The streets were crowded with people thronging the busy roads, enjoying the evening breeze. The sound of honing cars, chatter of pedestrians, and the aroma of the street food filled the air. On the famous Qadar Nawaz Khan Road, in the heart of Chennai's shopping district, stood a coffee shop, the Daily Grand. The shop was nestled between a bustling street market and a high-end jewelry store, and its warm lights and inviting aroma beckoned passerby to come and indulge in a cup of coffee. It was 8 p.m. and the coffee shop was buzzing with activity. Young couples, friends, and also patrons filled the tables, sipping on their favorite brews and enjoying the coffee atmosphere. Just then, a sleek black Mercedes Benz S Class pulled up outside the shop. Its tinted windows reflecting the neon softly as it came to a stop, its chrome wheels gleaming in the light. The door swung open, and Kavya, a stunning young actress, emerged from the car, her long dark hair cascading down her back like a waterfall. She stepped out onto the sidewalk, her high heels clicking on the pavement and her slender legs unfolding from the car like a lotus blooming in the night. Her skin white, snow white dress hugged her curves like a second skin, showcasing her toned physique. The trend was a masterpiece of seduction, with a plunging recline that revealed the tantalizing swell of her breasts and a hemling that rode up her thighs, exposing a hint of her smooth golden skin. As she stood up, her full lips painted a deep red curled into a radiant smile, and her bright brown eyes sparkled with determination. She took a deep breath, and her breasts jiggled slightly as if weaving the attention of world. As she stepped out onto the sidewalk, her driver expertly maneuvered the sleek black Mercedes Benz S Class into a nearby parking spot, the soft hum of the engine dying down as he shifted into park. He waited patiently behind the wheels, his eyes scanning the crowded street with a mixture of vigilance and boredom, his hands resting lightly on the steering wheel. The car's tinted windows reflected the neon lights of the coffee shop, casting a colorful glow over the interior. The driver's face was a mask of calm professionalism, his expression unreadable as he waited for Kavya to finish her meeting. Meanwhile, Kavya's high heels clicked on the pavement as she made her way into the coffee shop. As she moved, Her breasts wiggled slightly, and her dress seemed to cling to her body, high lifting her narrow waist and curvaceous hips. Her smile was radiant, and her full lips, painted a deep red, seemed to invite attention. Kavya, the stunning actress, sashayed into the coffee shop with a confident swagger, her lips swaying hypnotically with each step. Her long, dark hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall, and her bright brown eyes sparkled with determination. Her legs, toned and shapely, seemed to go on forever, and her high heels clicked on the floor with a seductive rhythm. She wore a skin tight, snow white dress that hugged her curves like a second skin, so cashing her toned physique. The dress was a masterpiece of seduction, with a plunging neckline that revealed the tantalizing swell of her breasts and a hemline that rode up her thighs, exposing a hint of her smooth golden skin. The fabric seemed to stitch and mold to her body, accentuating every curve and contain, leaving little to the imagination. As she scanned the room, her eyes landed on Vikram, sitting alone at a table, typing away on his laptop. He was a tall, dark, and handsome man in his mid 30s with a strong line and piercing brown eyes that seemed to bore into her soul. His hair was messy and unkempt, and his stubble added a hint of ruggedness to his chiseled features. As Kavya's eyes locked on to Vikram, he felt a jolt of electricity run through his body. He could not help but stare at her, his eyes drinking at the sight of her curves, her skin, her hair. He felt his pulse racing, his heart pounding in his chest, and his groin stirring with desire. As he approached Vikram Kumar, the renowned director, she flashed a radiant smile, revealing perfectly aligned teeth. Her full lips, painted deep red, seemed to invite attention. He was taken aback by his own reaction, but he could not deny the attraction he felt towards her. He seemed to forget everything else around him, his laptop, his work, his surroundings, and all he could focus on was Kavya. Vikram's eyes snapped up from his laptop, locked onto Kavya's ravishing figure, and seemed to freeze in time. Her breasts stained against the fabric of her dress, threatening to spill out with every breath. Her legs crossed, revealing a glimpse of her toned thighs, and her hips seemed to curve in an impossible arc, as if inviting him to explore every inch of her body. Kavya's slender fingers extended As she introduced herself, her nails painted a subtle pink. Vikram's eyes drifted to her toned legs, crossed elegantly as she sat down. Her dress rolled up slightly, revealing a hint of thigh. Hey, I am Kavya, she said, extending her slender fingers. Vikram stood up, taking her hand in a firm handshake. Vikram Kumar, nice to meet you, Kavya. Kavya smiled, her eyes sparkling with warmth. Likewise, Vikram, I have heard a lot about your work. Vikram nodded, gesturing to the chair across from him. Please have a seat. What brings you here tonight? Kavya sat down, her dress rustling softly. I am an actress, or at least want to be. I have been trying to get a break in this industry for years, but it is tough. Vikram leaned forward, his eyes interested. I know how tough it can be, but you have the look. You could make it big. Kavya's face lit up with a radiant smile. Really? You think so? Vikram nodded, his voice taking on a more conversational tone. Yeah, I do so. So, what makes you want to be an actress? Kavya leaned in, her voice taking on a more intimate tone. I love telling stories, Vikram. I love becoming someone else for a while and taking the audience on a journey with me. Vikram's eyes looked on to hers, his gaze intense. I know exactly what you mean. I love telling stories too, through my films. What kind of stories do you want to tell? Kavya's eyes sparkled with excitement. I want to tell stories that inspire people, that make them think. I want to play complex characters with depth and nuisance. Vikram nodded, his face lighting up with enthusiasm. I love that. I think we could work well together, Kavya. Would you like to discuss a potential project? Kavya's smile grew wider, her heart racing with excitement. I would love to, Vikram. Vikram leaned in, a sly smile spreading across his face. So, Kavya, I have been thinking maybe we could work on a project that is a little more intimate. Kavya's eyes sparkled with understanding, but she played it coy. Oh, what kind of project did you have in mind? Vikram's voice took on a husky tone. Something that explores the human connection, really gets under the skin. Kavya's smile grew wider, her voice dripping with innocence. I see. And what makes you think I am the right person for this project? Vikram's eyes locked onto hers, his gaze burning with intensity. Let us just say, I think we could expose each other to new things. Kavya's laughter was music to Vikram's ears, her eyes sparkling with mischief. I think that sounds like a fascinating idea, Vikram. But are you sure you are ready for that kind of exposure? Vikram's smile grew wider, his voice low and husky. I was born ready, Kavya. Let us first say I am eager to peel back the layers. In this dialogue, Vikram and Kavya are using double meanings to flirt with each other, hiding their true intentions behind innocent sounding words. They both know what the other is implying, but they are playing if coy, enjoying the thrill of the subtle seduction. As Kavya continued to chat with Vikram, the crowd around them could not help but be drawn in by her captivating presence. Her stunning physique, accentuated by the skin tight dress, was impossible to ignore. Men and women alike could not help but steal glances, their eyes roaming over her curves, their faces filled with a mix of admiration and envy. Some men looked at her with outright lust, their eyes fixed on her breasts, her hips, her legs. Others tried to be more subtle, sneaking glances when they thought no one was looking. Women, on the other hand, looked at her with a mix of awe and competition, their eyes scanning her body, searching for flaws that were not there. The air around her seemed to vibrate with tension, as if the very presence of her attractive body was causing a stir. People learned in trying to listen to her conversation, hoping to catch a glimpse of her personality to match her physical beauty. Vikram too was aware of the attention, his eyes flickering around the room, his face filled with a mix of pride and possessiveness. He knew he had her attention and he was determined to keep it. Kavya, however, seemed obvious to the commotion she was causing. She laughed and chatted with Vikram, her eyes sparkling with enjoyment, her body language radiating confidence and self assurance. She was true diva and she knew it. As they chatted, a supplier approached their table, interrupting their conversation. "Excuse me, sir, can I get you something to drink?" he asked, his eyes fixed on Vikram. Vikram turned to Kavya, his eyes inquiring, "Kavya, what would you like?" "I will have a cappuccino, please," Kavya replied, her voice husky. "From the Levasa brand." The supplier nodded, his face expressionless. "Right away, madam." He walked away, leaving Vikram and Kavya alone once again. "I am so glad we met, Kavya," Vikram said, his eyes locked on hers. "Me too, Vikram," Kavya replied, her voice husky. "I feel like we have known each other for years." The crowd around them grew thicker, the air thickening with the hum of conversation and the clinking of cups. The coffee shop was alive, pulsing with the energy of strangers drawn together by their shared love of caffeine. Vikram's eyes roamed over Kavya's body, his gaze lingering on the curve of her neck, the swell of her breast, the slope of her shoulders. He could not help but feel a surge of desire, his body responding to her presence like a magnet. Kavya too was aware of the attraction between them, her eyes flashing with awareness as he met Vikram's gaze. She glanced down at her hands, her fingers drumming a staccato beat on the tabletop. Before her eyes drifted back to the curve of Vikram's line, the sharp angle of his cheekbones, and the fullness of his lips. The supplier reappeared, his face a blur as he placed a steaming cup of cappuccino in front of Kavya. Here you are, madam, he said, his voice a monotone. Vikram's eyes never left Kavya's face, his gaze burning with intensity as he gestured to the cup. Please go ahead, he said, his voice low and husky. Kavya's fingers wrapped around the cup, her hands touching the ceramic as if it were a lifeline. She took a sip, her eyes closing in rapture as the coffee hit her taste buds. Vikram watched her, his eyes drinking in the sight of her, his body responding to her every move. He took a sip of his own drink, his eyes never leaving hers, the tension between them crackling like electricity. As they savored the rich flavors of their drinks, Vikram turned to Kavya with a charming smile. You know, I have a suite at the Grand Hyatt. It is one of the finest hotels in the city. Would you like to join me for a nightcap? Kavya hesitated, her eyes narrowing slightly as if she were considering the offer. I don't know, Vikram. I am not sure that it is a good idea. Vikram leaned in, his voice taking on a persuasive tone. Come on, Kavya, it will be fun. The Grand Hyatt is a palace. You will love it. Kavya's hesitation was brief, and she smiled sweetly. Okay, fine, but just for a nightcap. As they started to leave, Vikram's hands rested on Kavya's hips, his fingers wrapping around her slender waist. They walked out of the coffee shop, their bodies swaying in unison like lovers. The crowd could not help but stare at Kavya, their eyes fixed on her stunning beauty. As they descended the steps, Kavya summoned her driver with a discreet nod. Take the car back to my residence, she instructed him quietly. Vikram led Kavya to his sleek black BMW parked by the curb. They slid into the luxurious leather seats, their eyes locking in a lustful gaze. You are beautiful, Kavya, Vikram whispered, his voice husky with desire. Kavya's smile was sultry. You are not so bad yourself, Vikram. As Vikram started the engine, Kavya leaned over, her hand reaching out to touch his shirt. Her fingers trailed down his chest, slowly lower into his waist. Vikram's eyes never left the road, but his voice was laced with excitements. You are teasing me, Kavya. Kavya's laughter was husky. Maybe just a little. As they drove through the city, the tension between them grew thicker, like a palpable joy that clung to their skin. Vikram's hands tightened on the wheel, his knuckles white with restraint, while Kavya's fingers continued their slow exploration of his body. Finally, they arrived at the Grand Hyatt, its flowering spire a beacon of luxury in the night. Vikram pulled up to the entrance where a liveried doorman rushed to open Kavya's door. As they stepped into the opulent lobby, Kavya's eyes widened in awe. Crystal chandeliers refracted rainbow hues across the marble floor. White plush velvet sofa beckoned invitingly. Vikram led her to the elevator, his hand still resting on her hip. The doors slid open, revealing a mirrored interior that reflected their entwined forms. The penthouse suite, Vikram murmured, his voice low and husky as the door closed behind them. Kavya's heat raced in anticipation, her body thrumming with excitement. She knew what was coming and she could not wait. The elevator doors opened, revealing a sumptuous living room with floor to ceiling windows that framed the glittering city skyline. Vikram swept Kavya into his arms, his lips climbing hers in a fierce, passionate kiss. And as they stumbled towards the bedroom, Kavya knew she was in for a night she would never forget. As they vanished into the bedroom, the city lights twinkling outside seemed to fade into the background, leaving only the thrumming pulse of their desire. The penthouse suite, with its opulent decor and luxurious amenities, became a mere backdrop for the passion that was about to unfold. The door clicked shut behind them, enveloping them in a world of their own, where the only reality was the touch, the taste, and the thrill of each other's bodies. And yes, the nights wore on, the city outside receded further, leaving only the soft whispers, the gentle moans, and the sweet surrender of two souls entwined in a dance of pleasure and desire. The chapter ends here with the promise of a new dawn and a new beginning for Vikram and Kavya. Please subscribe this channel and press the bell button for notifications to you. Thank you very much.